Politicians are robbing us blind, and it doesn't matter if they're a Republican or a Democrat. There is only one way to gain power as a capitalist, and that is through exploitation. Both the Democrats and the Republicans support larger budgets for the Pentagon and its unjust wars. Both parties support the fossil fuel industry that keeps driving this planet towards extinction, and both parties support neoliberal economic restructuring that continues the exploitation of poor people both in this country and around the world. These three crises come together to form a cyclone of death and destruction. And who pays for it? We do. Many people flock to the Democratic Party because they promote themselves as the peace party. But are they? Although the Democrats have loved and supported war for its entire lifetime, just this year shows their allegiance to the military-industrial complex. In the 2019 National Defense Authorization Act, 139 House Democrats joined the GOP to approve $717 billion in military spending. In addition, 40 Senate Democrats jumped on that same bandwagon. I guess they felt left out. These are the elected so-called leaders of this country using your tax dollars to support the already well-enriched military contractors and corporations. Making a profit from war is already immoral, but now this? Not only do average Americans pay for the Pentagon on the federal level, but the military-industrial complex takes money on both the state and local levels as well. In the city of Bath, Maine, where the weapons corporation General Dynamics manufactures warships for the Navy under its sub-corporation Bath Iron Works, BIW, General Dynamics recently persuaded the state of Maine to give them tax cuts to the amount of $45 million in non-refundable tax credits over the next 15 years. Originally, General Dynamics wanted a tax break of $60 million over 20 years, but thanks to local Mainers fighting back through demonstrations, hunger strikes, and lobbying of their own, they were able to cut the deal down just a bit. That is $45 million that the state of Maine could have used to feed the 43,000 kids who live in poverty, or to provide health care to 70,000 Mainers who await Medicaid. This problem occurs all over the country. It isn't just the state of Maine. Oh, and guess who supports the F-35 fighter jet flying in their home state? Bernie Sanders argues that the F-35 fighter jet, which is made by Lockheed Martin, the largest weapons manufacturer in the world, is here to stay and that there's no sense in fighting it, so we might as well have them base their jets in his home state. What a terrible argument of inviting the military-industrial complex into your backyard. A personal hero of Bernie Sanders is Eugene Debs, the popular socialist that ran for president 5 times and gave the famous anti-war speech in Canton, Ohio, speaking out against World War I. Debs actually went to prison for that speech. Yes, freedom of speech isn't always guaranteed in this country. If Debs were a senator in Vermont, he sure wouldn't invite the largest weapons manufacturer into his home state. And looking at the example of Maine, the producers of the F-35 fighter jet won't be paying taxes either. Oh, and it looks like Vermont has a hunger problem as well. A study from Brown University published in 2017 shows that federal spending on domestic programs in healthcare, education, clean energy, and infrastructure creates more jobs dollar for dollar than military spending. Why doesn't the Democratic Party just create more jobs by investing in an economy that benefits the people and will help us deal with climate change? Some people might think that the Democratic Party understands the true cost of the fossil fuel industry and its impacts on climate change and global warming, because in June of 2018, the Democratic National Committee passed a resolution to ban donations from the fossil fuel industry. But that was a short-lived dream, because 2 months later, in August of 2018, the DNC passed another resolution stating that the party gratefully acknowledges and will continue to welcome political contributions from workers in the energy industry and their employers' political action committees. Simply, the DNC will continue to accept donations from companies such as ExxonMobil, Chevron, and Peabody Coal, corporations that are systematically burning down the planet. The resolution also affirms the party's support for an all-of-the-above energy economy. This is code for saying that coal, oil, gas, and nuclear energy should be considered equal to wind, solar, and smart hydropower. According to a 2017 Gallup poll, U.S. concern about climate change is at a 3-decade high. As time goes on, citizens are becoming more concerned about how climate change will impact them. Most of us should know that changing our economy from a fossil fuel-based economy to a renewable energy-based economy will create more jobs. A recent study from the Environmental Defense Fund showed that renewable energy is creating jobs 12 times faster than the rest of the economy. We, the people, know what needs to be done, but do the Democrats? The Democratic Party is ultimately a capitalist party, and as a capitalist, the only way to gain more power or to keep that power is through exploitation. That is why, despite the US being the richest country the earth has ever seen, it still suffers from having the largest social inequality problems in the world. The US has the largest prison population, it's home to the most billionaires in the world, it's last on the list of paid paternal leave, it has the most expensive healthcare system among developed nations, it has the most guns of any country on earth, it conducts the most drone strikes than any other nation, it's the largest weapons exporter in the world. The US accounts for 5% of the world's population, but accounts for 35% of the world's military expenditure. The US maintains an empire of 800 military bases scattered across 80 different countries. And since 9/11, according to Brown University, the US has spent over $5.6 trillion on the wars abroad. And in this country, it doesn't even matter what your constituents want.
A Harvard University poll last May showed that people between the ages of 18 and 29, not just Democrats, not just leftists, 51% of people between 18 and 29 no longer support the system of capitalism. But I wonder if there's anywhere you feel that the Democrats could move farther left to a more populist message, the way the alt-right has sort of captured this populist strain on the right wing, if you think we could make a more stark contrast to right-wing economics.
Well, I thank you for your question, but I have to say we're capitalist, and that's just the way it is.
There you have a young person publicly addressing a long-standing Democratic leader face to face, reciting a poll that shows a trend going in one direction, but her immediate response is to completely deny that direction and go the other way. She doesn't care what Americans think or want. She's going to do things her way. When a Democrat like Pelosi says, "We are capitalists," what she really means is that the Democratic Party is incapable of confronting the class antagonisms within our current society. Both major parties cater to the ruling class of the rich business owners, and catering to the minority rich business owners is why the party isn't interested in things like affordable healthcare, education, housing issues, or cleaning up the environment. As the political scientist Robert Dahl famously said, a key characteristic of a democracy is the continuing responsiveness of the government to the preferences of its citizens, considered as political equals. Do you really think Nancy Pelosi considers average Americans as political equals? We need a radical reorientation of this society, moving us from an economy that is based on fossil fuels, endless wars, weaponizing space, and neoliberal economics, towards an economy based on clean energy, a peaceful people, and an economic system that benefits everyone. We have the solutions. We know what to do, but we cannot count on the current political leaders for any type of real change. We have to change society ourselves. Part of taking responsibility of making systemic changes starts within. We will have to throw out the old rotting garbage and the ideas of the old, and we will need new ideas based on sustainability, collectivism, and people power. It's time to throw out the trash and build something entirely new. Join the global network to build an international citizens movement to turn the world upside down, from a destructive system based on exploitation to a sustainable system based on collectivism.